It is 6 o'clock, and so we will go ahead and ring the bell and get started. That imaginary bell that I don't have, but Heidi had a really nice one. Thank you, Jerry, for having that, her dad. But I wanted to welcome you guys to our program tonight on September 4th. Tonight we've got a great speaker who is I call a good friend of mine. He's in the goes to the same church with my family, and his wife Mary are with us. I did not see any guests other than Jerry is with us. So Jerry, great to see you today. And I wanted to go ahead and officially welcome Rial and Barbara into the Lone Star Rotary E-Club. I believe all of their paperwork has been done, so we're super, super excited to have them as part of our club. And I know they joined because of how they live their lives, but I'm really excited just to have their expertise and their Rotary knowledge as we continue to grow. And so with that, I wanted to go really quickly around the screen just so we can introduce ourselves to our speaker. Karl knows, but I'm Jason Kutnak. I am currently the Lone Star Rotary E-Club president. I've been a Rotarian for officially about almost 2 years now, coming up on 2 years in October. But super excited to have you guys with us tonight. So Karen, if you want to go next.
Sure. I'm Karen Chapman. Bobby and I live in Cypress, Texas, right outside of Houston. I've been a member of Rotary for 12 years this month, and real happy to be a Rotarian.
10 years this year. 10 years in November.
And that's enough about me.
Am I next?
Sure.
My name is Sharda Brunel. As you can guess by the ending spelling of my name, it's Scots. Well, my married name anyway. And I've been a Rotarian for 35 years. I joined Rotary in 1990 when the Lufkin Rotary Club we were the fourth club. Angelina Rotary Club is my first charter member. I am a proud charter member of the Lone Star Rotary E-Club, and I love.
Hey, honey,
Rotary.
I'm about to have to talk.
Who?
Hey, Bobby, why don't you turn off everybody's mic? I'll do it.
I did it.
Okay. Go ahead, Charda.
Oh, well, I could talk all day, as any of you know. But hello, Rael and Barbara, and welcome.
I'll go. Heidi Marsala. I am membership this year. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but my parents live in District 5910, and that is my dad with the headphones on and the hat. So, Dad, you want to introduce yourself?
Springfield. My claim to fame is I'm Patty's father. Probably the.
Okay, we can't hear you, Dad. That's okay. I'll just talk for you.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
I'm sorry. I forgot to pull the microphone down. I was saying my claim to fame is I'm Heidi's father. But I joined Rotary. I joined the Diboll Rotary Club in 1977.
Wow.
So I've been around Rotary a while. My wife's a Rotarian. Her father was a Rotarian. Heidi had no choice. So, and like Sharda, I'm a past district governor, and the emphasis on past. That's the best part, isn't it, Sharda?
That's what I want to be, a PDG.
You know, Jerry, you know what PDG means, don't you? You've been told prestige don't prestige done gone. So yes, it's
Prestige
wonderful.
done.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's next?
Go ahead. Who's next? I guess I could go next. I'm Bobby Chapman. I'm married to Karen. We live in Cyprus, as she said. I joined Rotary in 1993, so I guess that's 32 years. And I was in the West Beaumont Rotary Club, which then became the Spindletop Rotary Club, and now we're in the Lone Star E Club. And I'm happy to be in this club. And I just wanted to also extend a welcome to Rial and Barbara. I've known them for a number of years. They're outstanding Rotarians. They do a lot for our district, and they're also very committed to our Rotary Foundation.
I guess I'll follow up with that one. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We can't tell at our end. So I've been a Rotarian since 1996. So I am very close to feeling like I'm one of the old guys in this club. This is my fourth club within this district. I started with the Lake Conroe Club, then the Leak City Club, then the Magnolia Club, and now the E Club. So we love Rotary. We've gone to 6 or 7 different international conferences. We've had an opportunity to put forward the first global grant for this district, and that's gone. What was supposed to be a 12-month project ended up being almost 3 years. So it's been quite an exciting adventure for us. And I had an opportunity to go to Sierra Leone, which is where we were doing the grant for several weeks. And overall, we do a lot of traveling. So we're in Puerto Vallarta for 2.5 months, almost 3 months every winter. And we participate in a Rotary Club down in Puerto Vallarta. And we're trying to kind of close the loop here by joining the Z Club.
All right, I'll go next. Barbara Provencher, his better half. And I've been a Rotarian for 10 years, although I feel like it's longer because I've always done projects with Riel, especially with Youth Exchange since he's been a Rotarian. And
Yeah.
I love being a Rotarian, and I'm very happy to be in the E Club now.
I can go next. I'm Berta Gaskin. I've joined Rotary in 1992. Started out in 5890 with Pearland, then moved to Southbelt Ellington, then to Space Center, and then was asked to join the League City Rotary Club, which most of my Rotary experience has been with League City, and I'm a charter member of the E Club. I live in Sugar Land.
I can go. I've turned my normal color again after realizing that I was yelling when I thought I was muted. So super embarrassed. But anyway, I'm Michelle Lyons. I am a recent, I guess, joinee from the Huntsville Club. I am the district secretary, and I am just happy to be here with all of you.
Awesome. Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
I can. I have not done it yet, if you'd like me to.
Sure, Patrick. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, I am very happy to see all your bright, shining, pretty faces. And my name is Patrick Leslie, and I am a member of the Pearland Rotary Club and of the Lone Star E Rotary Club. And so it's always great to see all of your pretty faces. And thank you very much for allowing me to join you tonight.
Awesome. And I saw Jay Wilson. Maybe he left. No, he's there.
I'm trying to unmute and turn my video on. I just came to hang out with you guys tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. And Jay is our Polio Plus chair. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Awesome.
Okay,
And then go ahead.
We have a prospective member. Ronnie is here.
Yes, Ronnie is here. The link worked, and I was glad that he texted me and wanted to verify and validate, trust but verify that the link was the same, and it was, and so happy to see him. And we've been in communication about him becoming a member. He was a member of the Wall Street E Club and the Bronx. Is that correct, Ronnie?
No, it was a Rotary Harlem Club of New York.
Harlem.
It was a
Okay.
physical club, and the other one was a E Club.
Yes. All right. I knew I was going to screw that up. So
No
awesome. Well, very good. Well, I think we've got everybody. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start our program so that Karl can do his presentation, and then you guys have the opportunity to ask him any questions at the end. So like I mentioned, met Karl and his wife Mary at our church, and he is a very, very interesting person, and I'm just so glad that he agreed to come and share his story with you all tonight. So Karl is retired from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services Emergency Medical Services Division in late 2018, and he moved to Texas in September of 2019. During his 31 plus years of service, he has held the position of Chief Deputy County EMS Coordinator and Deputy Chief of Operations, and was responsible for 100 EMS agencies answering over 250,000 EMS calls annually. Prior to his EMS position, he was the first county deputy fire coordinator appointed, specializing in mass casualty incidents, and commanded EMS agencies in many multi-casualty incidents, such as the crashes of Avianca Flight 52, TWA Flight 800, and many other major catastrophic events. Simply put, if he showed up at your scene, it was a really bad day for a lot of people. In 2011 and 2012, Hurricanes Irene and Sandy, respectively, struck the Long Island area, and Karl was the strike team leader for the federal ambulance fleet that was deployed to Suffolk County to assist with the evacuation and eventual repatriation of two 300-plus bed hospitals on the south shore of the island that were in the direct path of the storms. Karl was also assigned as the EMS liaison for the 106th Air Rescue Wing that deployed for every NASA space transportation system launch in case of an aborted flight, with an alternate landing site at Gabrisky Airport in West Hampton. Karl holds a Bachelor's of Science in Health Administration, a Master's of Science in Emergency Services Management, is certified as a Firefighter 1, holds numerous FEMA credentials in Incident Command, and is a National Registry of Advanced Emergency Medical Technician, and is hoping for acceptance into the paramedic school in early January of 2026. Karl has been a volunteer firefighter and volunteer EMS provider since 1972 and remains active with the Friendswood Volunteer Fire Department and Friendswood EMS. And just to let you guys know, when Karl is not saving lives or dealing with major incidents, he also enjoys playing golf. He plays guitar in our church's praise band, as well as drums with some elderly friends as well in a band. And I think I don't remember what it's called, but it's really pretty catchy. But without further ado, Karl, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure. All right. So thank you for those kind words, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jason, for that introduction. I'd like to thank you personally for your invitation to come and speak with the group tonight and relay my experiences as a first responder during the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. This sentinel event, one that for most, if not all of us, is the kind that remains etched in our memories forever, much like the assassination of President Kennedy or when the Challenger shuttle blew up. The events leading up to that day and the story I'm about to tell seems almost uncanny, yet parallels and the circumstances are real. If I were to tell you the story at a bar, you would think I'm crazy. But having lived through it and been there, you'll see what I'm talking about, hopefully by the end of this presentation. It's not meant to impress anybody. I do what I do. If I didn't like what I do, I wouldn't be doing it for almost 53 years. I really do enjoy what I do. So with that, let's get going. I'm often drawn to the mission or vision statements of the various service organizations that I have spoken to in the past. To be honest, I wasn't all that familiar with the Rotary until I Googled it and I found your vision statement. And I now understand the difference between a mission statement and a vision statement. Well played, Rotarians. Making a lasting change in my community and in myself is something that I believe I have tried to do with my involvement in fire and EMS service for over 50 years. When I used to teach future EMTs at a local college up on Long Island, I always told them that they needed to learn something new each day and take that knowledge and use it productively from that point forward. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to paramedic school in January, hoping to be accepted. Tonight, I hope that the lessons that I've learned and we've learned from this country's worst terrorist attack will be carried forward. So Tuesday, September 11th, 2001 was a beautiful fall-like day in New York. The weather had a hint of what was coming: clear blue skies, no humidity. Hurricane Erin was a few hundred miles off the eastern coast of Long Island, but it wasn't expected to be a threat because the high pressure system coming down from Canada kept the storm pushed out into the Atlantic Ocean. In the research that I've done over the years, many people say that the weather conditions that day and the forecasted weather conditions was one of the determining factors by the terrorists to make the flights and take over the flights that day because of the perfect weather conditions. September 11th, 2001, I was in a hotel on Wolf Road in Albany, New York, the state capital, for the start of a 3-day conference that had about 500 attendees from all across the country. My role and my job included several homeland security and domestic preparedness initiatives, and they're listed on that screen there. I was responsible as the grants coordinator for the UASI, SHSP, Strategic National Stockpile, the MERC, all of that stuff. We actually practiced receiving federal assets and distributing them in the event of a biological outbreak or things like that. Because of Suffolk County's close proximity to New York City, the county was awarded millions of dollars in grants to purchase equipment, provide training, stockpile pharmaceuticals, and many other items to help bolster our state of readiness against terrorism in Suffolk County. The conference highlight and the target audience, those that were there, various emergency management professionals were in attendance, and the primary focus and theme of the conference was based on a new term that we were all starting to learn. And the acronym that they were using was something called Be Nice. And that's listed over there on the right. And as I've said numerous times, as I've done training to many organizations regarding the emerging threats, there's nothing nice about biological, nuclear, incendiary, chemical, or explosive incidents occurring in our community. But that's what we were being trained for. The FBI, up a few years prior to that, had just started releasing information about what they were classifying as terroristic events, and warning us that planning for such events was needed. And they highlighted in this presentation several, at the time, what appeared to be small attacks, some of which were focused in a town of Petaluma, California, which was a favorite target of the Animal Liberation Front, or ALF. They claimed responsibility. They were driving around town, lighting places off on fire. Bloomington, Indiana also had one. And then as we're getting a little bit closer towards the end of the year, in July, Rhinelander, Wisconsin, a lot of trees were destroyed, several vehicles destroyed, they put them on fire. But then it started to get home. In December of 2000, another one in Petaluma, California, by the same Earth Liberation Front, but there were a number of arson fires in the county that I lived in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. And we just thought, oh, it's just a crazy guy, just a lone wolf driving around setting houses on fire. Well, we were very, very wrong. We found out that this was actually a coordinated effort by the Earth Liberation Front, and they were anti-suburban growth and development, and were doing everything that they could to try and stop suburban growth. March 2000, another one close to my new home, the Houston Joint Terrorism Task Force, due to constant monitoring, people stopped a bombing that was to occur at the Houston Federal Building. So these events were real and ongoing, but to be quite honest, back in that time, I don't believe a lot of people took that very seriously. And then in October of 2000, the USS Cole was attacked in the Middle East in the port of Aden. And that brought the attention of what was now being classified as international terrorism to the forefront, and made those of us who were responsible for domestic terrorism preparedness sit up and take notice. And the obvious question was, what if something like that happened here? So training and awareness became a huge part of what we did. So that Tuesday morning, September 11th, 2001, as I said, I was in this hotel ballroom with about 500 other people from all around the country, and we were watching a video that was filmed by the folks from the History Channel. It was originally aired on the History Channel. Their day started out as to what it would be like as a normal day in New York City emergency medical services, one of the busiest EMS systems in the world. So they were filming a gentleman by the name of Paul Maniscalco, who was the deputy chief from New York City EMS's Special Operations Division. They were not part of the city's fire department back then. They were their own separate entity under the Health and Hospital Corporation, separate third service, standalone. He was in the room about 4 rows in front of me, off to my left, and we were watching the video of what it was like to be a normal day in New York City. And as they were interviewing, his radio goes off and he's being dispatched to the Vista Hotel, which was attached to the ground floor and basement levels of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And that was when in 1993, the bombing in the Vista Hotel took place. That morning at 8 o'clock, the conference started, and that was titled "The Need for a National Terrorism Response Plan." The conference brochure had an outline of the World Trade Center on it with a bullseye drawn over it. I do not make this up. The conference brochure had an outline, not that picture that you see, but an outline of the Twin Towers with a bullseye drawn on top of it. About an hour into the presentation, a hotel worker ran into the room, interrupted us, turned on the lights. I'm going to date myself now. Plugged in a TV on a rolling cart into a receptacle on the side wall, turned it on. We saw replay after replay after replay of a jet flying into the second tower. The first tower was already on fire. And we see the second plane take out the second tower. And my boss leans over to me and nudges me and says, and these were exact words, "Man, that looks real. I bet they're going to have us do a tabletop exercise simulating a jet flying into the towers." We looked at each other and said, "This can't be." A conference organizer ran up to the microphone and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is now concluded. For those of you from the New York area, now would be a good time to call your office." I do not make this up. Anybody familiar with upstate New York know that the New York State Thruway is the major north-south route that travels from New York City up into upstate New York. If you're familiar with that area, you know that standard AM/FM radio coverage is spotty at best. We didn't have satellite radio and all the technology that we have today back then. When we were able to get a signal, we were listening to the news channels and get as much as we could. And we had heard that one of the towers had collapsed. And the reporters were estimating that tens of dozens of thousands of people were estimated to have been killed. Because the way they described it, we thought that the tower had fallen over, not that it had collapsed. And in retrospect, it was actually better that it collapsed the way that it did because it reduced the number of casualties. So when we heard it collapsed, we just couldn't believe it. And the number of fatalities to this day, almost 3,000. Now, this is what happened on one day. I'm not counting the ones that have perished since then, and there have been many. 2,763 fatalities at the World Trade Center, 189 at the Pentagon, and 43 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That's the one that was made famous by airline flight 93. Let's roll when they tried to take the guys over. So a little bit of a timeline here. In 1 hour and 42 minutes from the time that the first tower was struck at 8:46 a.m. to 10:28 a.m., both towers, 110 stories each, had collapsed. 1 hour and 42 minutes. Incredible when you think about it. So, Hero Highway, the West Side Highway, became the main thoroughfare for emergency responders to enter Lower Manhattan. As you can well imagine, traveling in and around New York City was strictly not prohibited, but you had to have credentials and you had to have a reason for being there in order to travel into New York City. But one of the most striking things that I remember making was about an hour and a half trip every day there and back from where I lived, was the thousands of people lining the highways. Didn't matter what time of day it was, they were out there with signs and American flags thanking us, and patriotism, as you can well imagine, was at an all-time high. So in order to get anywhere, you had to be credentialed, whether it be Ground Zero, the different Pier 92, Pier 94, 92 and 94 were the Emergency Operations Center and the Family Reunification Center. And that red Z that you see on my credential there allowed me access to Ground Zero. If you did not have that on your credential, it didn't matter who you were not getting into the site. You have to remember that this was not only very, very dangerous, it was probably one of the biggest crime scenes ever, where all types of evidence had to be retained, collected, and preserved. I'm walking down with the director of the fire rescue and the fire commissioner with me one day, and there's a steel worker, and he's cutting these big beams of steel that are jutting out from under the ground. And he's telling us, be careful where we're walking. And we know that. We don't want to trip and fall. I mean, the dust is up past our knees. There's asbestos and paper and everything everywhere. He says, no, you don't want to be stepping on the metal. because the fires that are burning below the ground, 30, 40, 50 feet below the ground, are so hot and so intense. If you put your shoe on the metal, it'll melt your shoe right off your foot. So we had to be very, very careful where we were walking. One of the biggest memories, I have so many, but one of the ones that really struck me the most was when the USS Comfort, which is a naval hospital ship, came into the harbor, came up the river, and parked right alongside of us by Pier 92. It was there to be help the expected casualties, the people that got injured. But after a short period of time, it had to be less than 2 weeks, it became clear that it was not needed because a couple of reasons. Number one, fatalities don't need medical care. Those that self-evacuated did not need any emergent care. And those that did need care, got it because they left the area and went back to their homes, either in another borough of New York City or up into Westchester County, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island. And all of the hospitals in the area saw patients from that event. I don't know if we'll ever get that, but it would be interesting to know how many patients were seen in all of those hospitals. I don't think we'll ever get that. But the second most impressive point of this issue with the ship, is when it was time to leave, every single crew member on that ship, and there's how many of them? Almost 1,000 of them, stood along the rails in their dress whites at attention as it sailed out of the harbor. And the song "I'm Proud to Be an American" by Lee Greenwood was blasting over the loudspeakers. I'm telling you, it was one of the most moving experiences I've ever had in my life and will forever be etched in my brain. There is no picture, there is no video that you can see that can truly give you a sense of the magnitude of destruction that occurs when two 110-story buildings collapse, when Building 7, which was the city's original emergency operations center, which I think was 12 stories or something like that, collapsed. And as I'm walking through the area 10, 15 blocks away, I can see the wheel assembly of a jetliner sticking out of a building 20, 30, stories up, sticking out of the side of a building. That gives you a real sense of the magnitude of destruction that what occurred there that day. So these pictures that you see in front of you just doesn't even come close. Not to mention the smell, not so much the bad smell, but the acrid smell. A lot of the materials that were burning and the off-gassing and the asbestos was still floating around in the air. And I'm going to say this, and I really have to bite my lower lip when I say this. If you look at the pictures, see how many people are wearing air purifying masks or even any kind of mask. Hardly any of them. One of my jobs working in the Emergency Operations Center was procuring equipment for this operation, and I was purchasing air purifying respirators by the tens of thousands. And as I was walking around Ground Zero wearing my mask, I didn't see very many people wearing them at all. We saw them in the boxes, but nobody was wearing them. And it's not surprising to see the number of respiratory ailments that have resulted as a result of being exposed at Ground Zero. So that's just, take it for what it's worth. For weeks, months, and even years after 9/11, there were so many funerals. Many fire department, in the New York City Fire Department firefighters live in the suburban communities surrounding the city. I was chief of my local volunteer fire department at the time, and because the city was so decimated, they could not properly hold funerals for those that were killed. So the local volunteer fire departments did somewhere upwards of 6 to 8, maybe even more a day, where they set up, as you can see on the left, the ladder arches, whereas the funeral processions came through, they were honored by the fire service locally. And prior to the procession started, the traveling public would go through and they would just, you could see them bawling. I mean, just the tears pour. They're waving at us and praying for us and stuff. It was a very, very emotional, very, very emotional time. It took me a few years before I had enough guts to go back to the site and visit. As you know now, the reflecting pools that were built are the footprints of the Twin Towers where they used to stay, and where they stood rather, and surrounding that, and you can see that in the top picture, are the names of every single one of the victims of not only the World Trade Center site, but the Pentagon and the flight in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The three gentlemen that you see on the bottom, on the left is Kevin Smith, in the middle is Ray Meisenheimer, and on the right is Pete Martin. Those three are personal friends of mine who were killed, New York City firefighters who were killed that day. Those three also worked at the Suffolk County Fire Academy that I worked with very carefully and closely with during my career. Those three very, very close friends of mine. So after 9/11, what have we done? What have we learned? Well, we know that we need to have some sort of enhanced security and some sort of counterterrorism efforts. How do we do that? We need intelligence gathering, homeland security, border security, shifts in our military and foreign policy. And this is not a political statement. This is stuff right out of the facts and all of the reports that have come out of this event. It was almost impossible for the fire service to talk to EMS, to talk to police, to talk to fire, to talk to whomever. Interagency cooperation and interagency communication is huge. Using plain language. The county I was in up on Long Island, Suffolk County, adjacent to Nassau County, we use different radio signals, and Nassau uses different than what New York City does. So why don't we just go and use plain language? A vehicle fire is a vehicle fire, not a signal 14, not a 1024, not a whatever. Let's use plain language and the ability to communicate among agencies, not only electronically in sharing information, but on the scene of an emergency. We need that. On the government side, private sector, many of the items that we have gotten very, very good at in government and in emergency response, such as incident command and all of that, has been adopted by the private sector. Many, many businesses are now forming crisis management plans that only can serve to help employee morale, and it helps adapt and improvise your business during times of an emergency. I attended a lecture several years after 9/11 that was done by the director of Paramount Studios, and they had a fire in their studio some years ago. And he talked about how they were able to restore and continue operating their business as a result of learning the concept of incident command and establishing clear roles and responsibilities. And it was very refreshing to see and hear that it works not only in emergency agencies, but in private business as well. We know about the long-term health effects. Another dear friend of mine who was a New York City firefighter died a few years ago from long-term respiratory problems, not wearing a mask. The post-traumatic stress disorder, our stress management team from Suffolk County was deployed to New York City and worked there for many, many years to support the emergency responders for those aspects. Public health. Public health used to be a standalone thing. I think COVID really brought to light the impact that public health has with respect to emergency response and overall management of that. So I know I gave you a really, really quick overview of what my responsibilities were, some of my reflections, some of what I've learned. I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope we all never forget what happened. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Carl. That was really, really good. And I know that it was many years ago when you first shared that, actually. I believe as the Sunday that you shared it at church just happened to be 9/11. And I remember you having you came into church with your uniform on, and we were fairly new to the church, and I did not even realize, you know, what you did during 9/11 and what you did for your community for so many years. And you know, we still learn, um, you know, each and every day that something happens, we do our best to learn from it, because if we don't learn from it, we don't ever really, you know, we're not really ever able to move forward. And I think as a people and as a community and as a nation, um, it's really easy to forget, you know, and to understand the why behind why we do some of these things. I know that people complain, you know, about going through the airport and the security and, you know, the, you know, constant change. But if we don't change and if we don't react to, you know, credible threats, we're going to find ourselves in another situation. And
there's a whole new
I
set of
just,
rules out there.
yeah, but I just, I really appreciate it. And I was wondering, too, if I know this is kind of putting you on the spot, Mary. So, but from just being Carl's wife, like what if anything, you know, how it affected you, if you feel like sharing, that would be interesting as well. But Ronnie and Karen have their hands up, so let's go ahead and allow for questions.
Sure.
I'd like to hear what Mary says before I ask my question.
She unfortunately had to take a telephone call while during the presentation, but as soon as she gets off, I'll get her over here.
Okay.
Well, my question, and Carl, that I don't even know what to say about what you went through. I'm sure it haunts you every day, every night. I'm sure there are nightmares I cannot even imagine. Looking to the future and hearing what you said, that we learned so much as a country. The threat is real. It happened in our lifetime. Where do they suppose, I'm sure they know that it could happen again.
Mhm.
And are there particular cities or areas that they focus on where this could happen? And how do they prepare for that?
Yeah, so certainly, you know, any major metropolitan area is always going to be a target. You know, you have to think like a terrorist in order. You need to have the biggest, no pun intended, you need to have the biggest impact that you can. And the way you do that is by going to a major metropolitan area, by going to a New York, by going to an LA, a Chicago, a Miami, you know, or whatever. You want to make it, you know, again, no pun intended, you want the impact to be big. The part, I think we've done pretty well with respect to, you know, travel and TSA. I know it's a pain in the neck and you know, they're reducing some things but the thing that really concerns there's actually two things that really concern me and have even since then. The number one thing I don't think we're really paying enough attention to is something we call agro-terrorism. You want to bring a country down to its knees, you cut off its food supply. We're really not paying attention to that. Cyber terrorism is a huge deal because just every day you look at all of the attempted, all of the identity thefts and, you know, the breakage of into data banks and things like that. And cyber terrorism is a big threat. But and I know we're investing lots of time and money and effort on that. Where I think we're not investing a lot of time and money is on agriculture or food supply. And again, I don't want to politicize this, but there is a concern in this country about the number of foreign countries that are buying up agricultural land in this country. And I'll just leave it at that. It scares me. It really does. It's you want to make a lot of people sick in a hurry, infect their food supply. Scary.
Well, I'll pass my question to Mr. Ronnie because I think he had his hand up next.
Yes, thank you. No, I just want to make a kind of like a comment. When that happened, I actually was not in New York. I was in South America, but I remember seeing, the same thing that all of us saw. But I did had a cousin who was living in, my cousins live in New York, and I remember hearing then that they had to walk the Brooklyn Bridge to get back home.
Yeah.
That's how it was because his school was in Manhattan, and our family always lived in Brooklyn. That's where I was also born when I was a kid. So they had to walk from their school through the Brooklyn Bridge. Imagine all that people in the post chaos. So just want to compliment that. And then another thing is that when I was then living in New York later, I worked, I'm sorry, every day, like 1 block away from the World Trade Center. So the question that Karen was saying, would it happen again? I was thinking all the time, oh my God, I don't want to really work there. I got to work there, stuff like that. But thank God, I don't think the terrorist group will, we're gonna get over it. So I think the security measurements are always, supposed to be reviewed because even nowadays we have all these cartels and all that kind of stuff that we got today. So any type of security measurements are, are a must to be in the airport. So whatever they want to do as security, we have to be willing to accept that. I travel a lot, so I've seen all this stuff of getting out your shoes and taking out your laptop and all that stuff. But the reasons are there. I just want to comment that I've seen, I've been part of all this post scenario, and I'm pretty sure it was very impacting. I've seen a lot of documentaries, and I've been in the World Trade Center now. It doesn't look like, nothing like what it was at that time, but just want to bring out the comment.
The minor inconvenience at the airport is well worth the effort.
Is what? I'm sorry? I didn't hear it.
The minor inconvenience that you may encounter at the airport is well worth the effort.
Yes, totally true. Anything that they can do, it's better.
So I didn't even talk about this, but if you have nothing to do and you want to watch something really, really interesting, there's a video of the boats that came from Manhattan and New Jersey that evacuated, I don't know how many thousands of people from lower Manhattan that day. You need to watch that. And these were all boat operators and volunteers. They took thousands of people away. And that probably in its own right, those that self-evacuated over the Brooklyn Bridge, those that got as far away as they can on their own power, and then those that left by boat saved countless lives. Countless lives. Who else?
I think Bobby had his hand up next, or was it Patrick? Bobby?
Hey, go ahead, Patrick. I think you were next.
So I'm going to share. I'm going to share a story that nobody knows about what happened leading up to the World Trade Center attack. Most of you, or a lot of you know, I work for Morgan Stanley, and Morgan Stanley was headquartered in the South Tower. Yeah. And I remember when I went to New York for training, and I spent about a month there. That part of our training. Well, and what caused this training was back in 1993 when they first had that first attempt on the World Trade Center, and they tried to detonate that van down at the base of the Trade Center, and it didn't go as planned. Our head of security, Rick Reskala, who just had the vision, and when that attack happened, he implemented and recommended and had our management start doing evacuation drills of the tower.
Absolutely.
And so, and I remember going when I was in training, going and doing evacuations. And even after that, I'd gone back a couple of times, for some more training, and that was part of the part of the protocol. It was just evacuating the tower. And so when the first plane hit the North Tower, the Port Authority, which controlled the towers, and I know Karl knows that, and so they announced evacuate the towers, and then a moment later, the Port Authority in charge of the South Tower, or that team, said since they had not been attacked at that point in time, they said all clear, and so it stopped the evacuation of the South Tower. But Rick Ruskell, our head of security, said evacuate, evacuate, and minutes later, the South Tower got attacked.
Yeah.
And because of Rick Ruskell and his efforts, that, out of 3,000 Morgan Stanley employees, we lost 13. And that number could have been so much higher had it not been for his efforts and training and guidance to lead our employees to safety and continue, those drills from when the first attack happened in 1993.
Yep. Absolutely true. Absolutely. I'm just trying to get Mary back on. Oh, yeah, they have a
And
question.
little side note, Rick Ruskell, who all seen the movie We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson?
Mm-hmm.
He was in that conflict. He was in Vietnam in
wow.
that battle. So, I mean, the guy has spent his whole life, serving, our country, one form or fashion or another.
So he gets it.
He got sadly, he lost his life trying to evacuate people from the tower.
Yeah, yeah.
On September 11th. Hey, Karl, do you know Karl Haslett? He was a assistant chief or battalion chief with the New York Fire Department, and he's a Rotarian, past district governor, very involved with disaster aid.
Hazlitt? Hazlitt?
Haslett.
Oh, Haslett. No, I did not.
Okay.
Bobby, you had your hand up, and then we want to hear from Mary.
Sorry, I think I accidentally muted myself. Well, I have a comment and then a question for you, Karl.
Okay.
The comment was that just a personal experience I had in the mid 80s. I was involved in a business. It was a toy business. We would go to New York every year in February for the annual toy fair. So the toy manufacturers could show off their products for the next Christmas season. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to go up to Windows on the World, which was, I think it was a 106 or 107th floor of the original World Trade Center. It was awesome to stand there next to the window and look out over Manhattan, but it was a little bit spooky as well because the tower was moving slightly. And now just to think what it must have been like for the unfortunate people who died in that tragedy is just, it's just a personal thought that I have because I stood right where they were. The question I have for you is this. You talked about the security at the airport for the transportation, TSA security. I've read recently that they are relaxed. They've already, for TSA pre-check, they've relaxed the rules where you don't have to, take your belt off. You don't have to take your laptop out or take your shoes off.
Right.
Now I've heard that they're relaxing the rules even further, where soon, if not now already, you won't have to remove your shoes. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts, having the history that you have with your the vocation that you've been in all these years. if you have any thoughts on whether that's a smart thing for us to do to relax those rules, as if to say that the threat is no longer what it once was.
So I think the threat is always there. And there will always be people who will try to find a way to circumvent those security measures that are in place. But I think also what's happening, and one of the reasons why they are lessening some of those restrictions, is because they have more advanced technology with scanning and sniffers and things like that that can detect items. Therefore, they're hedging. I don't like that word. I was going to say they're hedging their bets. It's an educated bet that there are no explosive devices or any other type of materials that could bring a plane down because of the enhanced technologies with scanning. Even when you're wearing your shoes, you walk in, they're actually looking at the bottom of your feet. You don't even realize it, but they're actually looking at the bottom of your feet. So if you had something in your shoe, they're going to see it. So my understanding is that one of the reasons why they're doing that is because of the more effective use of technology against threats like that.
Okay, thank you.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't be any less diligent. I think they will still will do randomized checks and things like that. So, but yeah. Okay.
I think we wanted to hear, Mary, we understand you were on the phone, but someone asked a great question and wanted to know, and whoever asked it, please ask it again if I'm not saying it right. But Mary, what were your thoughts about your husband going through this during and after, sleeping next to him at night when he might have a nightmare? Tell us what your perspective is on this.
Well, interestingly enough, the person who called me was my brother, who was the assistant chief of EMS in Manhattan at the time. And he was there when it happened. I was not married to Karl at this time. So I didn't even know Karl during that. But I was a teacher, and I had students whose parents were in there when, we didn't know if they had made it out or not. I think I can't answer because I didn't know Karl at the time. I can't answer what he went through during his downtime. I know my brothers, one was a cop, one was EMS. Seemed to be about as traumatized as everyone. It was, even listening to the radio on the way in and out of work, it was constant call-ins, constant, not as very much music, but on the radio that you normally would hear, but talk. Everybody was in shock. So I was protected, I guess, from the people who were there at the scene. All I can tell you, I can relay what my brother has told me or whatever. I wasn't with Karl when he was going in there.
But Mary, I have to say, something struck me and my eyes teared up. You were a school teacher. You were in a classroom with children.
I watched it come down on the TV.
Parents, and I don't think any of us can ever forget the video of George Bush in a classroom, hearing them read a story when someone comes over to him, an aide, and whispers in his ear what's happened, and the look on his face of trying to keep it together. You were there in a classroom. I don't know how old your babies were, but what was that like?
That was, to me, more traumatizing than the incident, because the incident, I saw it happen. It's almost like watching a movie. You can't process it immediately if you're not standing there. But the children I was teaching high school. They knew that their parent or loved one or somebody was in that building. They watched people jump out of the building and come flying down. We had parents flying up to the school to come pick up their kids, thinking, we're under attack or whatever, or your father's in that building. I need to get you home. We need to regroup. And they were trying to pick up their kids. Because I was in high school, we had kids leaving, just walking out of the building to go home. They were as shocked as all of us, because they understood. They saw what happened. They understood what happened. The little ones in the schools, we kept, all TVs were kept off. We tried to keep the parents away and stay home because they were safe in a concrete building, in a school building, they're safe. But the high school kids, yeah, they were beside themselves, and the teachers were beside themselves, and we were all just saying to each other, just forget what you're teaching, just be there. Just be there. Hug the kids that need to be hugged. Give your phone to a kid who wants to call somebody, whatever. Just be there. And then you just watch it, like a lot of things that happen in our country. You watch it over and over and over again on TV, in the news, and that's all anybody spoke about on the radio and that kind of thing. I had my personal story with it is when it happened in school. My brother, the one that just called, I knew he was in there, and I was trying desperately to call him, and I got through, and he answered the phone. He said, "I'm fine. They're cutting off communication," and I lost him. And I immediately called my mother, and my mother came to, she was at a friend's, and a friend had called her to the phone, and she came to the phone crying. She thought I was calling to tell her that her son was killed. And I said, no, I just got off the phone with him. He's fine. They're cutting off communication. You won't be able to speak to him. So it was things like that, that hurry up in 2 seconds, just pass a message to somebody that somebody's okay or, not okay.
I just want to add something. Mary and I were not together when that happened, but she comes from a family of emergency responders, and she understands what we go through. Her father was a police officer. Her brothers were involved in law enforcement and EMS. So when she met this EMS guy some years ago, she said, "Oh Christ, another one." She another. She gets it. She understands. And she knows that if I come back, from a bad call, I may need some time to be by myself or whatever. Or if I need a shoulder to cry on, she's there for that. And that's huge. That is huge. That's all part of the healing process.
Yeah. They say try to leave your work at work.
Yeah,
But
no,
we all
not in this
have
business.
had different jobs, and in some jobs perhaps it's easier, but in a job with human beings, it's really, really not easy to leave your work at work.
Well, awesome. I think that's a really good way, unless anybody has any questions, I think that's a really good way to kind of end the presentation tonight. Again, I'm really thankful for Karl and Mary to give their perspective, and with us being a week away of another anniversary of 9/11, I think the timing of this could not have been better, because I think it's easy, especially when I talk to my kids and they don't always understand, or they don't always know about this, because it's not really taught in school like you would think it would be as part of history. And I think it's important for us as we get older to let our kids know that bad things happen to good people in this world. And we've got to continue to support each other and love each other and serve each other. And I think as Rotarians, that's what we definitely strive to do. So anyway, I just really, really thank you guys for that. So
thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we always like to end our meeting with the four-way test. So I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it?
Now I do.
Yes. Okay. I did it right. So very good. Well, so we used to all try to say this at the same time, but it gets kind of miscombobulated. So I'm going to do the first one. If Karen could do the second, I'm going to pick Jay to do the third because he just popped on my screen. And and I'm going to ask Charda to do the fourth one. So me one,
Karen two.
Karen two, third one Jay, and the fourth one Charda. So the first one is the four-way test of the things we say and do. The first one is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All concerned.
Amen. So very good.
There's
And
one more though. There's one more.
Oh
we
yes.
have the fifth one, and it's you gotta be aware of your company, and in this company I will share it. Number 5 is it fun?
Is it
Is it
fun?
fun?
Is it fun? So
Then it passes the test.
it did it. Then it passes the test. So
Oh, we get caught.
yeah. Yeah, well, we get caught. Thank you, Charda. I love it. I love it. So I dropped Karl's email in the chat. If you guys have any questions, I know he would be absolutely more than willing to answer any questions. But if you also just want to drop him a quick note, you can do that as well. Jay and Patrick, thank you guys very much for joining us. And we have a really exciting program coming up on September 18th.
Yeah, we've scored a month of 2 wonderful programs because this one was fantastic. And I want you all to invite your friends to come to in 2 weeks. And Karl and Mary, we'd love to have you guys. Our Rotary, International Rotary, does a convention every year, and there are 15 to 30, 40,000 people. And what goes on behind the scenes? How do you put something that massive together? We have from Great Authority, the host operating committee will be with us, joining us from Taipei to tell us how you put one of these massive things together. So that's what we've got in 2 weeks at 6 o'clock.
Okay, I do have one special request, and I think Jay's already answered it for me, but I just want to make sure. Many of my folks were very interested in what I was doing tonight, but unfortunately could not log in because we have another event going on as we speak at the firehouse that I couldn't partake of because I had contributed or committed to this. But they do want to see what took place tonight. And if it was recorded, if there was a way I could share that link with them, they would like to watch that. So
I can Bobby? Yes, Karl. Our Lone Star Rotary E Club has a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So you can go to YouTube and search for Lone Star Rotary E Club, and tonight's meeting will be loaded onto our YouTube channel later tonight.
Okay. Perfect.
Maybe we could send it to him, and all he has to do is open his email and click on it.
I can do that too if I have your contact information.
Okay.
Yes, I put it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
And
perfect.
One last thing. Okay. Read your Rotary magazine. If you want to know about Taipei and Taiwan and what they're and an intro to what they're doing and the intro to the 18th program, read your Rotary magazine. It's in there all over the place.
So
well,
awesome.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah. So
Good night,
yes. So with
everybody.
that, I'll officially adjourn the meeting at 7:12. If anybody wants to stay on and chat, you're more than welcome to. But if not, don't forget that we're going to meet again in 2 weeks, and we have an awesome program that Karen just discussed. So,
Good night, everybody.
Carl and Mary, thank you so much. Appreciate you, and I'll see you
Thank
Sunday.
you.